What would you do if a simple family visit turned into a life-changing moment? In today's story, Tan and Thuy plan to visit their grandmother in the countryside, dreaming of bringing her closer to the city, but face their mother's hesitation. Determined, Tan and Diem prepare gifts and clothes, spending a joyful day filled with laughter, meals, and cherished memories with their beloved grandmother. Yet, on the drive back, a sudden accident turns happiness into fear, sending Tan to the hospital, while Diem fights to keep him conscious. Stay with us to witness a journey of love, family, and resilience. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories. It was a quiet morning, the soft sunlight spilling gently through the windows of their family home, casting warm golden patterns on the polished wooden floor. Toan sat across from his mother, a faint tension lingering in the air, while Thuy fidgeted nervously beside him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. They had been discussing something that had been on their minds for a long time: going back to the countryside to visit their grandmother, and, if possible, bringing her to live with them in the city. Toan's eyes, filled with both determination and a hint of anxiety, met his mother's, silently pleading for understanding. He could already imagine the gentle smile of his grandmother, the way her eyes would light up at the sight of familiar faces, the warm, comforting embrace that had always made the world feel safe. Thuy, equally earnest, added her own voice, speaking softly but firmly about how lonely their grandmother had grown, how the small village no longer held the same energy for her, and how being closer to them would bring both joy and security. Their mother, however, responded with a mixture of concern and hesitation. Shaking her head gently, she loved her mother-in-law dearly, but she could not help but worry about the challenges that such a move might bring. "It's not that I don't want her near us," she said, her voice laced with worry. "But life in the city is fast, noisy, and unpredictable. She has lived in the village all her life, leaving behind the fields, the familiar streets, the friends she's known since childhood. It could be too overwhelming for her." Toan and Thuy listened quietly, absorbing every word. They knew their mother's concerns were valid. The city was a stark contrast to the calm, simple life their grandmother had always cherished. Yet, in their hearts, the thought of their grandmother being alone, her days filled with quiet routine and memories of the past, weighed heavily on them. They wanted to give her something more than safety. They wanted to give her companionship, laughter, and the warmth of family that distance had slowly begun to erode. Toan leaned forward, speaking with a measured intensity. "Mother, I understand your worries, truly, but I believe she deserves to spend her golden years surrounded by family, to feel loved every day. We're not asking to uproot her life completely overnight. We want her to be comfortable, to gradually experience the city life, and above all, to know she's not alone." Thuy chimed in, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "Grandmother has always cared for us, for our happiness. Isn't it our turn to care for her, to give her the peace and joy she has given us all these years?" For a moment, silence fell over the room. The soft ticking of the clock seemed louder than ever, each second stretching the tension between hope and concern. Their mother looked at her children, her heart torn between protecting her mother-in-law and honoring the love and loyalty her children felt so strongly. Finally, though, she let out a sigh, the kind that spoke of love, worry, and reluctant acceptance all at once. "I cannot say no to seeing you care so deeply for her," she admitted, her voice gentle but firm. "Perhaps, for now, you can visit her in the village more often, bring her gifts, spend time together, and see how she feels. If she truly wants to come, we will discuss it again. But for now, the best thing might be to make her days bright when we visit, without causing her the stress of moving too soon. Toan and Twee exchanged glances, understanding that this was not a rejection, but rather a cautious compromise. They nodded, their hearts still heavy, but filled with a quiet resolve. Even if they could not bring their grandmother to the city yet, they would make every visit count, cherishing each moment, laughing, sharing stories, and ensuring that their love bridged the distance between generations. The morning sunlight seemed warmer now, almost as if acknowledging their determination, and a gentle hope settled in their hearts. Hope that one day they could bring their family together in a way that honored the past while embracing the future. A few days later, Toan and Diem found themselves bustling around the house, carefully preparing gifts and clothes for their grandmother. The morning air was crisp and filled with anticipation, as if the world itself sensed the excitement in their hearts. Toan folded neatly a set of soft, warm sweaters he had chosen for her, each one in colors he knew she loved, gentle pastels that would brighten her days. Diem carefully wrapped a box of her favorite treats and handcrafted items, small tokens meant to bring joy and nostalgia. Every ribbon tied, every corner smoothed, carried a silent message of love and longing. We are coming, and we cannot wait to see you. The car was packed with care, gifts stacked with precision to prevent a single bruise or wrinkle, and yet the true weight of their journey was not the physical burden of presents, but the emotional significance of reconnecting with someone so dear after weeks apart. As they drove toward the countryside, the city gradually receded, replaced by the gentle undulations of green fields, winding country roads, and the familiar scent of earth and vegetation. Toan glanced at Diem, a smile playing on his lips, sharing the silent understanding of how important this trip was. Not just a visit, but a reaffirmation of family ties that distance had never broken. The anticipation built as they neared the little village, where the air was filled with the comforting sounds of rural life. The soft clucking of chickens, the laughter of children playing, the distant bark of a dog. And then, just as the sun began to cast its golden glow over the fields, their grandmother appeared at the gate, leaning slightly on her cane, but moving with surprising grace. The moment their eyes met, her face lit up with joy, and for a heartbeat, it felt as if time had folded in on itself, bringing all the distance, the worries, and the longing into one perfect instant of reunion. The afternoon unfolded like a cherished memory brought to life. They sat together around a rustic wooden table, laden with fresh fruit, home-cooked dishes, and the simple pleasures of a shared meal. Laughter echoed through the small house as stories were exchanged, some old and familiar, some new and amusing. Toan watched as Diem gently adjusted a plate for their grandmother, noting how the soft light caught the gleam of happiness in her eyes. They played simple games, each one filled with joy, teasing, and warmth, the kind that only family can create. Every smile, every gesture seemed magnified by the sense of gratitude and love that surrounded them. Gifts were unwrapped, the sweaters draped over frail shoulders, the treats sampled with delighted murmurs. Their grandmother's laughter rang like music, and Toan felt a deep, almost overwhelming sense of fulfillment. This was why they had come, to create these moments of shared happiness, to remind her that she was cherished and never alone. As the day drew to a close, the golden light of sunset spilling across the fields seemed to cast a gentle blessing over their time together. Though a hint of melancholy lingered at the thought of leaving, the memories they had created were luminous, tangible, and lasting. Toan and Diem helped their grandmother tidy up, laughed at little mishaps, and promised to return soon, their voices tinged with both excitement and the sadness of parting. The warmth of the day, the joy of connection, and the unspoken understanding that family is both an anchor and a light lingered in the air. As they climbed back into the car, hearts full, spirits lifted, and the soft rustle of gifts and clothes around them, they knew that this journey, however brief, has strengthened the bonds that time and distance could never diminish. The sky had turned a soft shade of amber as Toan and Diem climbed back into the car, the warmth of the day still lingering in their hearts. They waved repeatedly to their grandmother, who stood at the gate with a gentle smile, her hands pressed together in a silent blessing. Laughter and shared stories from the day echoed in their minds, making the return journey feel lighter despite the miles ahead. The road stretched out before them, flanked by fields bathed in the dying light of the sun, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the countryside, leading them back to the city that now seemed both distant and inevitable. Tuan's hand brushed Diem's briefly, a subtle touch full of reassurance, and she responded with a small smile, grateful for the quiet strength he always provided. As they drove, the peace of the countryside gradually gave way to the familiar hum of traffic, the blur of signs, and the occasional roar of trucks overtaking them. Diem chatted lightly, recounting small moments from the day, trying to keep their spirits buoyant. Toan, however, was lost in thought, thinking about his grandmother's laughter, her gentle reprimands for little mistakes, the contentment in her eyes as she received the gifts they had carefully chosen. It was in that serene reflection that disaster struck. A vehicle appeared suddenly in their lane, veering unexpectedly, leaving no time for hesitation. Toan slammed on the brakes, but the slick road and the speed of both cars made the collision unavoidable. The world seemed to shatter into a cacophony of metal, glass, and screeching tires. Diem's scream pierced the chaos, a sound fueled by fear and disbelief as the impact jolted them violently. When the car finally came to a halt, silence descended, broken only by the distant sounds of other vehicles slowing and people shouting. Diem's heart pounded in her chest, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she turned to see Toan slumped over the steering wheel, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Panic surged through her, yet amidst the fear, a fierce determination ignited. "Toan, stay with me. Don't close your eyes," she cried, gripping his hand tightly. His eyelids fluttered and he managed a weak, reassuring smile, though the color had drained from his face. She could feel the life in him fading, and her mind raced, calculating every second, every action needed to get him help. With a trembling but resolute hand, she grabbed her phone, calling for an ambulance while simultaneously trying to keep him conscious, talking to him, reminding him of the laughter, the stories, and the love they had just shared with his grandmother. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, the sirens growing nearer, the ambulance finally appearing like a beacon of hope. Paramedics rushed to their side, their professional calm cutting through the panic, and carefully moved Toan onto a stretcher. Diem followed closely, refusing to leave his side, holding his hand, whispering words of encouragement, promising him he would be okay. The ride to the hospital was a blur of flashing lights, the wail of sirens, and Diem's incessant prayers. She held his hand the entire way, her grip a lifeline, her voice the thread connecting him to the world outside the chaos of the accident. Every bump on the road, every sudden turn sent jolts of fear through her heart, but she refused to let despair take over. She needed him to hold on, to survive, for the sake of the life they had been cherishing, the family moments they had nurtured, and the countless memories still waiting to be made.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tử Diễm Review. Rất vui vì ngày hôm nay mình lại được gặp lại các bạn trong tập phim ngày hôm nay. Trong tập phim ngày hôm nay thì Toàn và Diễm đã xin phép mẹ Toàn Dù rằng bà không đồng ý nhưng mà Toàn với Diễm đã lên đường về quê thăm bà nội Toàn ở quê. Nhưng mà sau khi thăm hỏi bà xong và chào hỏi trên đường về trở lại thành phố thì không may Toàn đã xảy ra tai nạn, dẫn đến việc là phải Diễm đưa Toàn đi cấp cứu. Sau khi nhận được thông tin là Toàn đi cấp cứu, mẹ của Toàn đã đến ngay bệnh viện và bà ta đổ mọi nỗi lầm lên là do Diễm mà Toàn mới bị tai nạn. Liệu rằng Toàn có qua khỏi cơn nguy kịch hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ vào các tập tiếp theo. Các bạn thấy tập phim ngày hôm nay của mình hay, hấp dẫn thì hãy cho mình xin một nút like, một nút chia sẻ nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn vào ngày mai. Bye bye!